We reported yesterday on baby step solutions for the housing crisis in the North Country. An apartment here, a duplex there. They can make a big difference in small town housing shortages. In Lake Placid, 16 new townhouses are opening, specifically for workers. And what's surprising is how they were built, how a nonprofit took a bite out of the worker housing crunch. On today's Story of the Day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Claxton Hepburn Medical Center, dedicated to providing patient care and regional services to the people of St. Lawrence County. claxtonhepburn.org.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Thursday, June 6th. First up, the Adirondack Park is home to 3 former New York State prisons. And right now, there is little opportunity to use the buildings or the land. But that may change soon. NCPR intern Zach Jaworski reports.
Governor Kathy Hochul is proposing to turn 3 former Adirondack prisons into private property. According to the Adirondack Explorer, the deal will replace the protected forest lands that the prisons occupy with new preserves. The more than 200 acres that the prisons formerly operated on are considered state forest preserve land. That means that private businesses and developers are unable to use hundreds of buildings, parking lots, and roads that have been left vacant since the prison closed. The Explorer reports that Hochul's office plans to introduce the idea to the state assembly before the legislative session ends today. The legislation proposes that the state purchase new land and convert it to forest preserve. That would offset the potential sale of the prison properties. Right now, only state agencies can use the former prison facilities. However, no government organization has made a plan for them. Protect the Adirondacks is an environmental group in the North Country. Executive Director Peter Bauer says that there are a variety of private parties interested in using the land. Affordable housing, makerspaces, nonprofit offices, and commercial parcels are just some of the ideas he's heard.
They would like the opportunity to try and revitalize these sites in a new and different way, to bring them back onto the tax rolls and generate some activity that's positive for the local community as well as the local economy.
Bauer says that swapping preserve designations from the former prison properties to less developed land is better for the forest preserve system as well.
We're arguing to bring back a couple thousand acres of wildlands, actual lands that could grow wilder, forest lands that could grow wilder year after year, decade after decade, that would enhance the forest preserve. These prison facilities, though they are technically forest preserve, are degraded forest preserve, and they're highly developed, and their very existence on the forest preserve undermines forever wild values.
Lawmakers can decide whether or not to move forward with the plan before the legislative session is scheduled to end. For North Country Public Radio, I'm Zach Jaworski in Canton.
Last month, 16 townhouses went up for sale at Fawn Valley, a new housing development in Lake Placid. These homes were built specifically for local workers who were being priced out of the Lake Placid housing market. But this isn't a state program, and it's not Section 8 housing. Fawn Valley was privately developed by a not-for-profit, and it's believed to be the first of its kind in the North Country. Amy Feiereisel reports.
The 22 homes of Fawn Valley are located not even a mile from downtown Lake Placid. It's prime real estate in an area that's become increasingly out of reach for local workers. Modest houses around here often sell for between $400,000 and $700,000. But a 2-bedroom, bath-and-a-half townhouse at Fawn Valley will run you less than half that, $190,000. The units are simple, modern, and come with new appliances. There's good light.
Oh, nice big windows.
Yeah, nice. It's triple glazed.
That's Steve Sama, the president of Homestead Development, the not-for-profit corporation that built these houses.
Even at 20 below, it feels like this. There's no drafts. It's really pretty nice.
In the basement, Sama points up to the ceiling, where you can literally see how the house was put together.
You can see, if you look at the beam, so this is one half of the first floor, this is one half of the first floor.
Instead of building from scratch, Homestead used shells from a modular manufacturer called Simplex Homes. That helped them control costs and move fast. That was important because the whole idea behind Fawn Valley was to build quality homes and then to sell them at cost to local workers. For Sama, this was a passion project.
It's appalling that people that take care of us can't live here and have to drive 50 miles to drive an ambulance if you have a heart attack or something like that. I mean, it's not right.
Sama was galvanized by a 2020 housing needs assessment that was commissioned by Lake Placid. It showed that local full-time workers were getting priced out by second homeowners and short-term rentals. So to buy one of these homes, there are conditions.
Like, this is a very specific type of home ownership with restrictions.
Emily Kilburn-Politi is a board member of Homestead Development. We're looking out at the wetlands behind the townhouses.
The disclosures to buyer, which is very long, states that it has to be your permanent and full-time residence. You can't short-term rental it. You can't long-term rent it. You have to live here. And if you're not going to live here, then you have to sell it.
Other conditions. There's a 2% per year cap on what you can resell the homes for. And buyers have to make less than 200% of area media income, or AMI. For a couple, that means you'd have to make less than $130,000 per year combined. The 16 townhomes are currently for sale. 6 other freestanding homes have already been sold, 5 of them to first-time homebuyers, with jobs like these: local nurse, DEC engineer, reading teacher, addiction counselor.
People who essentially serve the community.
But they were not eligible for the standard, assistance programs because they make too much money.
Sama and Kilburn-Politi say Fawn Valley was specifically designed to include folks who don't qualify for low-income housing or assistance, but who also don't make nearly enough to compete with the wealthy when trying to buy a home.
We saw this niche that we could fill, helping all the way up to 200% of AMI.
But here's the issue. There are no government programs or tax credits to build housing for the middle. That's a big part of why projects like Fawn Valley are so rare and so hard to build. More often than not, the cost of building a home is more expensive than what the middle class can pay to buy it. So Homestead Development had to find an alternate pathway.
It's like, if you build it, they will come, kind of, you know.
We did not know what we were doing.
We didn't know how it was going to pan out. We just knew that we were going to do it.
Yeah.
Here's how they finagled building 22 homes specifically for Lake Placid workers. A local philanthropic family donated this parcel of land. Homestead's board wrote grants and solicited donations to cover all the infrastructure costs: building a road, a sewer line, bringing in electric.
Our formula is to have the infrastructure funded by donations and grants.
Sama says the town and village of Lake Placid provided valuable in-kind services, and that much of the infrastructure costs were paid through grants from Essex County's motel and hotel bed tax.
What we're left with is the cost of the homes.
And then you're only selling the person the house at what the actual house costs, nothing that's underneath it, nothing that to get to it, just the cost of the house.
Kilburn-Politi says you also need a builder like Steve Sama, who's willing to see the project from start to finish and not take a developer's fee. If all that seems like a tall order, it is. Homestead's model required lots of support from many different corners. But it worked for Fawn Valley, and Sama and Kilburn-Politi hope it will work again for Homestead Development's next project, Fox Hill, also on donated land in Lake Placid. Sama says they plan to keep building as long as there is need, and as long as the community will support projects like this. Motivation is easy, he says.
I mean, the best part of it for Emily and me is seeing the expressions on people's faces when you give them the keys and they realize that they own a home that they wouldn't have been able to own.
Older homes selling for a similar price point often require an immediate infusion of cash to deal with existing problems, like a leaking roof or a crumbling foundation. That's money many first-time homebuyers and local workers don't have. The Fawn Valley units won't require serious repair for many years. And at current interest rates, depending on how much you put down, a mortgage will cost around $1,000 to $1,400 per month. That's less than many rents in town. Amy Feiereisel, North Country Public Radio, Lake Placid.
We have more news all the time on our website, ncpr.org. Music today by I Am Snow Angel and Caitlin Scholl, both of Lake Placid. I'm David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio.